Mm. Here we are again, my friends. Here we are again. So, last couple of days has been a really intense topic. And I've never actually narrated that whole experience in one go and from the perspective of really seeing it in the light of what I've learned, you know, on my journey. And the reason why I realized that's what I wanted to say to you was from my Vision Quest actually last weekend that I was going to go on. Played some music, opened myself up, then I ate a couple of the psychedelic mushrooms, and then I walked around, and it was interesting because it was all about body experience, and really the primary mode of healing that I've been going through is physical. When I talk about healing journey, it's physical. Alleviating pain, discovering and loosening old patterns of tension. And inevitably, when we come to the stuckness of physical tension, the pain, which is the residue of a stiff and rigid way of proceeding in life, what do I discover? I discover the old traumas, and I discover all of the ideas and the thinking associated, and where the archaeology of the inner mistakes is in the body. Sedimentary layers of tension, clenching, rigidity, And that's a theme I noticed actually as I was narrating my story there, is the theme of rigidity versus fluidity. And I've talked a lot about flow state, loving, devotion, opening, energy being, which is flow state. And of course, the opposite of that is conditioned response, trauma-induced conditioned response, which is all about rigidity, resistance, avoidance, denial, these rigid pieces, And what I realize actually is, and what I'm doing today is it's not going to be a long one, I don't think, because, I'm still resonating from having been vulnerable with my journey with y'all, you know what I mean? But today I'm resonating with the hero's journey and the story of the prodigal son, because I'm very much a prodigal son in a way, because I've gone out into the world and I've just made shit tons of mistakes. I was a tragic hero in that all of those mistakes came from one root, the root of inauthenticity, which was that place that sealed up trauma, brutalized, conditioned response, the rigidity that I couldn't let go of. And what's interesting about it is that in that rigidity is the idea that I'm going to survive. I'm a survivor, because when we're traumatized, when things are hurting us, right, we want the pain to go away because we want to get past it. We want to get to a place of safety. So our trauma conditioned response is actually a self-preservation technique. It's a coping mechanism, literally, So as such, it's not actually negative or demonic or whatever you might say about it. What it is more like, as Gabor Mate would say, an immature response, like it had its place in time, and my coping mechanisms had their place in time in the early 1970s, but because of our lack of any kind of authentic cultivation of people in our culture, our Western culture, that just no one addresses that. You never learn to get a hold of yourself. So these coping mechanisms you get sealed into them, and then you get into all sorts of trouble. I did anyway, I got into lots of trouble, which was all from one mistake, one essential mistake that has since been driven into me many times, And so, my journey was always an interplay between flow state, a kind of liquidness of being, the flow, the way things are, right? And a kind of rigidity, control, yes, but false control based on I got to avoid certain things that happened in the past. It's all about the past. It's all about history, right? And there's something interesting in that when you anchor yourself only in history, and therefore you develop a bunch of ideas and thinking, which for you is reality, there's also a rigidity and a stiffness in there, which is unnatural, because things that are stiff and rigid, they get broken in nature. Nature's all about liquidness and bending and flow. Look at nature, You think a tree is rigid? No. That's just because we're not looking at a tree in a tree's time. If you watch any kind of living plant, vegetative, living thing on the scale of its own time, like in other words, in fast motion, right, over the course of weeks or months or whatever, you will see that everything that is alive is teeming and writhing. It's like serpents or tentacles. It's all moving, So nature is in total movement, total flow. The thing is, we are in a different speed level, and so we don't perceive it. We don't perceive how they're moving. They look stiff and rigid to us. Same with stone. Stone looks solid to us, and it is. However, if you look at rock in geological time, all rock is liquid, just flowing over the earth, like tectonic plates, right? So a question like what time frame you're in. Then there's our time frame where we are at, right? That makes me wonder how many things are out in the world that are faster than us, that we can't see, and to whom we appear to be standing still. Perhaps something to do with energy realm, energy beings, the ultimate energy or the unmanifest. I mean, who knows? I'm not here today to talk about that. I'm talking about rigidity versus flow. Rigidity is a falsehood, and it's got this element of survival to it. I'm going to survive. I am a survivor, right? There's that flavor in it. And a lot of times people think of themselves as survivors, or they've got a pride in their ability to survive, their toughness, they're on the streets, they're surviving. Notice I start talking about people on the streets because I identify with people who are, the children of the broken homes in our broken society who haven't learned to take care of themselves, because I consider myself to be, among their number. I've learned to take care of myself, but only as after, many, many mistakes, The thing about rigidity and survival is that flow is all about committing to your life. Flow is all about committing to your life. When you commit to your life, you realize you're not going to get out alive. That's the thing. There is no survivor. There's no survivors in this life. No survivors. No one gets out. So the gesture of the fixed conditioned response is imprisoning, and it's also a lie to think that you're going to survive. And it's out of that ideologies are born, that religion systems are born, political systems are born. We're going to get a perfect state, that perfectionism. You know what I mean? And I think actually that one of the reasons why I'm making an effort to put myself here on the internet is because we live in a time where there's like a cult of perfectionism. And I can tell you that part of my own coping mechanism was perfectionistic. You know what I mean? Like the idea of cultivating a perfect facade was like part of my problem. I couldn't just be my rough-edged, raw, foolish idiot self with all the loving commitment that I could muster. I tried to stay within a very safe and controlled presentation that I thought was what everyone needed from me, right? But if you look around at the internet, most of the times it's all about perfected facades. And people are shocked when the real story comes out. Oh my God, behind this person, there's some kind of horrible reality, And the sensation of people getting exposed is like one of the rushes of our time. Oh, that perfect image has been revealed to be false. You know what I mean? And it's not just on the internet, but I mean, look at politics. We expect our politicians to be perfect, right? And as a result, we choose the worst kind of lying narcissists to be politicians because they're the only ones with the balls to just lie their asses off and tell everyone how perfect they are. And of course, concomitant with that is, denigrating the opponent as being the liar, of course, being the degenerate. right? When personally, when I look at all that and the whole show of it is just a circus of degeneracy from the position of authentic being, right? So, I mean, that's what's on my mind today. Like I'm telling you these things, I'm sharing with you my truths, my energy being, my loving devotion, what I've learned. And what I've learned is that spirit is the most important experience for everybody. I mean it. I mean it. You've got to find a way. And find a way to get outside yourself. Not that you can ever really get outside yourself, but you get this awareness that there's more than just you. And once you get the awareness that there's more than just you, even though it's frightening, even though it's terrifying, even though you have to come to grips with the fact that you're going to die, it is freedom. It is freedom. It is joy. It is loving being. You're open to be the person you are. You can then be all that you can be. Be all that you can be with the Spirit. And of course, I say that, and like, I don't have any idea attached, like everything that I've talked to you about, in these series of talking head little talks that I'm doing here is all of my ideation. And in each one, I'm trying to express my ideation, and yet with the door open, or with my awareness of that threshold that I'm at, which is to say, yes, all this is true, loving, healing, evolving, dreaming, right? Do not forget, though, that without death, and when I say death, I mean that's that threshold, that's the only actual perceptual experience of the spirit that we ever actually have. Whatever that is, right? Prior to death, though, I mean, what is spirit? Spirit is like the energy of everything. Spirit is in the entire galaxy. It's in the entire inner space inside of every atom. And it's like it's everything that's beyond our perception and our thinking and our feeling, even our energy. It's beyond everything. It's the unmanifest. And so, what am I even talking about? The thing is that when you get really still inside, when you are devoted, when you feel loving, when you cultivate that gentleness with yourself in order to heal your wounds and get into a pleasant, peaceful state, and then as you begin exploring your own stoke and the own things that got meaning for you, as that rises up inside of you, and you gain more spiritual awakening, right? Which is all of these things happening, right? Then you notice that life moves in a different way. People act in a different way. Life materializes around you in a different way. It's the same old world, but once you have changed within, things happen differently. And when I talk about spirit coming into my life, I'm talking about the way the elements of life begin arranging. They arrange in a different way. They arrange intelligently around me. And as long as I don't get lost in the rigid conditioned response and remain liquid and fluid and ready, then I'm able to see the intelligence manifesting and make my decisions, This is kind of what I'm saying. This is part of what my knowledge is that it's devotional, it's silent, and when you get into that state, you gain a receptiveness. So there's the work, and then there's the being receptive. And they're both part of it. The work works, do the work. If you feel you're stuck, do the work, right? Heal. Love, right? Love first. Love is feeling good in your body, feeling comfortable, having a smile on your face, feeling all right. This night is all right. This day is all right. What I'm doing is all right. And I'm feeling good, Physically, it's a physical feeling, right? That's where it begins, right? Just the same way all energy tends to begin in sex for us. Not really true, because when we're kids, we're not sexual, right? So energy and sexuality is like, it's like, as I say, all sexuality is energy, but not all energy is sexuality. And yet, as we become adults, that is the engine that usually begins an energy journey. Because as children, we are just aspects of our parents. We're not doing any journeys on our own when we're little kids, right? Which is the problem with the conditional response, because this is how we learn about the world. Is how we learn from our parents' worlds. If our parents are very unhealthy, we learn an unhealthy perspective, and there's no stopping that. All we can do is free ourselves from it. And that is what I'm talking about in all of this, right? And so it is an inner journey, and yet it's also work, which goes on in the outer world. There's that receptiveness and then the active doing of it, Because in the end of the day, like, spirit coming into my life was all about me cleaning out my capacity to be receptive. Because spirit was always there. I was just blocked and unable to get in the flow, right? And that was where work came in, I couldn't love myself, didn't have any understanding. When I began to dimly intuit that loving within is the only answer, then I began the healing journey. You know what I mean? And as my wounds have been healing and I'm getting better and stronger inside, which is kind of what my visioning quest on the weekend taught me, actually, is that my wounds are very much healed. And now I'm feeling more an evolutionary dreaming kind of gesture. I talk about the dream temple, right? That's because this life is a temple of dreams. That's why I can say things, unfortunately, about our society, because it's like I'm no longer blaming myself for everything. You know what I mean? I'm like, I realize I've owned my mistakes. I've corrected them. I've corrected my mistake, which was my tragic flaw. I didn't see it, right? Now I see it. All you can do at that point is be the change that you want to see. Be the person you want to be. Be the dreamer of your own life, which is just being in love with yourself and the things that are going on around you. If you don't like it, change it. Who I am now is not only who I want to be, but I'm the person that I needed. Not only the person I needed to be when I was younger, but the person who I needed around me. Like, if I had come around and managed to have some kind of relationship with my younger self, I'd be a very different person right now, because I know how to reach people. Why? Because I was unreachable. No one could reach me. No one could ever reach me or help me. And so I find that when I'm in the field, I'm exceptionally protective about the vulnerability of my clients, because no one really protected my vulnerability. In fact, my vulnerability kept on getting smashed when I was really little, right? And that led me into this narcissistic, callous, self-reflective, I'm all right, that pretends, the lie. I'm pretending I'm okay. I'm not okay. And seeing problems in other people, missing it inside myself, because I'm the one who I need to fix first. And that's the same with you. It's the same with everybody, If you find yourself drawn into the criticism of others, this means it's something you got to work out first. Work it out first inside. Then when you come to that place and you are the change you want to see in the world, this is Gandhi, of course, be the change you want to see in the world. God, that guy, amazing. And the stuff that he endured, amazing, And I guess ultimately, learn about history. You know what I mean? Learn about history. Learn about things that have happened in the past, right? Because this obsession with perfectionism that we live in right now is like as limited as the picture you're taking, And narcissism is based on ignorance. Narcissism is only to gaze at your self-reflection, It's weird. It's weird, this world that we live in, Like, we live in the disintegration of the old paradigm. We are in chaos, the chaos of absence of paradigm, absence of central meaning. There is no centralized meaning anymore, right? And so we're in this place where this is the time for the individual to rise. And yet, no one's really rising. It's just become sidetracked in a very shallow nothing, A word that's on my mind a lot now is curation, curating. People are curating their images. People are curating sounds, music. People are curating experiences. You know what I mean? Like curation is a word that I keep hearing. Well-curated music, a well-curated slideshow, something like that, right? Well, as a 20th century man, a Gen Xer, if you will, curators belonged in museums, you see? Like a curator is someone who makes sure the exhibits are all dusted in the museum, right? But now this has become a central verb in our internet process. Everything is curated now, right? And what I like about that word is I think it reveals the truth in that whatever goes on the internet is some kind of museum piece, it's history. It's history because reality is still out here, So when you become overly obsessed in the myopic view of your often grandiose, ego-fulfilling narcissism of the internet, right? It's like this is more important than this life out here. It's a curious thing to see happening, And if you listen to the one the other day, I talked about surface tension, right? This curation, this devotion to obsession of like how appearances go on the internet, right? It's surface tension. It's something that you can't break out of, And I think a lot about all the conflicts that are going on between people and groups. It's because no one can get beyond the surface tension. No one can get beyond the semantics, the surface semantics at that. No one ever listens for tone. No one ever listens or reads the whole passage and really considers what someone is saying. There's this very surface response. There's offense culture. Offense is the shallowest and most meaningless of responses, and yet it's that surface tension, that staticky surface tension that everyone lives inside of, that I observe anyway. And so, in the example of my life, all I can really say is that perfectionism is nothing but a trap. Perfectionism is a trap. There is no perfection. I'm not perfect. I'll never be perfect. And I'm here in my raw state, and I cultivate my raw state because that is the technique that I've used to not get trapped in any more perfectionism, any more endless conditioned response rigidity. This is the cultivation of flow state for me. I'm telling you my narrative. I'm telling you the dark secrets because they are the important factors in what kept me from my own flow state. It's important. It's important to do. And it's only the work that we can do. Because if you want to be the hero of your own life, you must take risks. My life has been on the line. I will say that. For all the mistakes that I ever made, the reason why I was able to learn is because I was always on the line. Even though I kept on making mistakes and fucking up. It's like each time there's a little more learning, just a little more learning and a little more learning. You know what I mean? The work works over time. The work will work. You just cannot lose. You cannot lose that peace inside of you that's seeking, that knows that although you maybe you're in a dark place, but there's something better. You just know it. You know it. There's something better than our social order right now. There's something better than the shallowness of this internet, right? And I'm denigrating the internet here a little bit, but it's like this is an evolutionary tool that we've got here. Everyone has got to be shining on here. But by shine, I don't just mean like well-curated experiences. I'm not talking about like museum exhibits, like, oh, this is my beautiful past. It's perfect for you to see. It's like, it's a conduit for our humanness. It's a conduit for our humanness to expand. And if you're curating museum exhibits for your grandiosity, you are not contributing to humanity, authenticity, our consciousness, how we're growing and expanding, how we're evolving as earth beings should be the substance of what we're doing. And ultimately, This is what my hero's journey has been. My hero's journey has led me to the depths of my own hell and also the redemption of freedom from that. Whatever may come, whatever's going to happen to me, the only real thing that's going to happen to me is that I'm going to die. And that helps me be in this moment now, which is where I could never be when I was younger. And my hero's quest was just that. And anyone who's been on a hero's journey can tell you that really, I didn't need to go anywhere to learn this. Like I'm thinking of Paulo Coelho, the alchemist. The secret, he goes all through the journey to realize that the secret was where he began, right? That is the nature of any inner growth, any true growth. It's like you go into the outer world, but you make an inner discovery as a result of that journey, right? So if you want to be the hero in your own life, though, you must take chances. And that doesn't mean just be reckless and stupid with your life. I mean, like, do this work. Love, heal, evolve, and dream. As you begin loving and healing, you've got to take chances. You've got to do what's important to you. You've got to cultivate that stoke. You've got to build that fire within. And if that means that you make some mistakes, all you can do is own them and move forward. Don't put them into the world of rationalizations and justifications. That's just going to perpetuate the stuckness, It's the stuckness that has to be resolved, and it can only be resolved with stillness, gentleness, lovingness, devotion to something other than your idea of yourself. And if you're fortunate, then you will come to your true being. And by fortunate, I mean doing the work, being true to your intent, and being receptive. That one's hard to quantify, being receptive. Let me put it to you in the way that I sing about it, It's like, I think about like a tree, right? You plant the seed in the ground. It's in the darkness. This is the dark journey, As a person I was, 30 or 40 years ago, I was like that seed. Inside of me was this ephemeral, unreal glimmer of something. And then I had to go down into the darkness. The darkness is it's a metaphor, but think about darkness, the dark journey, which is to say, for me, the conditioned response, right? The darkness, down there in the darkness of the earth, the underworld, right? This is where roots grow. You need to anchor yourself in the darkness, because the darkness, the earth is all that we can hold on to, all of our mortal strivings are with the earth. We're intertwined with the earth, right? So once you get a hold of the earth, once you get a hold of yourself, that glimmer just pushes you up inside, and that seed begins springing forth in a shoot that's striving to reach up to the light. And it's got the power to push through the ground and then reach up. It's reaching and reaching and reaching. What's it reaching for? It's reaching for the sunshine. You're reaching for the sky, You must reach for the sky. But the thing is when you reach for the sky, you are giving yourself to the wind. You reach for the sky, you never touch the sun. All you ever do is get moved in the wind. However, if you can pay very close attention to the subtlety, you can feel the warmth. What's that warmth? What is that warmth? It is the sunshine touching you. Because we never take hold of the sun. The sun takes hold of us. If you see my metaphor, trees grow up. They grow up to be receptive to the sun. Receptive. We never take hold of the sunlight. The sunlight takes hold of us. This is a spiritual truth, So in that growing process of the tree, as a metaphor that I'm describing, right? The work is the rooting. The work is the pushing up. The rooting is the reaching for the sky, right? Then you give yourself to the wind. You must cultivate a fluidity so that the wind blows. That's the only thing you can touch. That's the only thing trees ever touch is the wind, is the air, right? But over time, you can feel the warmth penetrating. And that is the reality of spiritual receptivity. The light takes hold of us. And that's what, so there's the work. I'm always emphasizing the work. That's the most important thing. But there's also the being receptive. You've got to be receptive. But you can only be receptive if you can still yourself enough to be aware of the subtlety of it. Because it's nothing that you're grabbing at. It's nothing that you can ever hold, even though you desperately want to hold it. It's something that holds you. What you get to hold are all the things of the earth around you. You get to hold yourself. You get to hold the people you love. You get to hold this world of beauty around you, around us, right? But don't ever forget that what we're reaching for is that thing which touches us. It's very subtle. And you only reach it if you can break out of safety. Take risks, real risks, not reckless risks. Life is risk. Life is an engagement with that final trauma of death. There is no escaping that final trauma. Which, to bring me back to the beginning, conditioned response is all about survival, surviving trauma experiences. And then we want to avoid trauma experiences. Then we get in this trap of thinking we can avoid all the traumas of life. Oh, I'm going to stay safe. There is no safety. And in the final equation, life will take your life and you will die. And that final trauma will affect you no matter how clever you think you are, no matter how safe you are, no matter secure you think you are, no matter how thick the walls of your personal emotional bunker are, you are not safe. You have just walled yourself away from life and from your living process and made yourself incapable of making the moves you need to when they come to you. So take the chance of being the prodigal son. Take the chance. Make the mistakes. Don't be risk adverse. The reason our culture is stultifying and stagnating right now is because we've got this chaos. So there's a sea of individuals, and yet no one is really exploring Stoke because no one really knows spirit. People only know what's in their own minds now, what their cultivated and curated imagery is. People only know their self-reflection. And unfortunately, the internet is really reinforcing self-reflection. And the culture is enforcing self-reflection because people who are trapped in their own self-image are extreme consumers because you're detached from your truth. You're detached from your flow state. And so you just keep on the path of ignorance. Anyway, I wanted to say those things because I'm talking about spirit, and it is the hero's journey. You got to be the hero of your own life and take chances. And what does that mean? Getting into your loving, healing, evolving, dreaming self. Or find the Stoke in your life. You know what I mean? Like, you got to find it. Find that Stoke. Just get into the thing that gives you a smile and a tickle. Start there. And then see what happens. So, stop the perfectionism and be your true love and self. Perfectionism never got you into the club. Only a loving being got you into the club. Get your loving ass into the club. Anyway, I'm rambling away here. I'm gonna stop now. But it's about journey today. It's about journey today, and being ready for the journey and what it means to be on the journey. To be on the journey is to do the work and also be receptive, because without receptivity, you don't know where to go. You can't read the signs. You can't read how things are manifesting around you. It's only when you cultivate that inner truth, your loving devotion, your still energy being. It's only from that place that your true perceptive unit can be operative. I feel there's something to say about movement of the assemblage point as well, because I talk about a lot of my Carlos Castaneda stuff, and the hero's journey is a journey of change. The hero's journey is a change of transformation, and from what I learned from Carlos Castaneda, change is all about movement of the assemblage point, changing your perspective fundamentally. But that only spirit changes your perspective, right? But how does that happen if we can't know spirit, because it's the unmanifest? The unmanifest is what calls us. The call to adventure of the hero's journey is the thing that calls us out of our safety, out of our conditioned response, out of whatever habits and routines we're stuck in, out of our past. The call to adventure is the call to emerge from our past and embrace the adventure of now and explore where it goes. And that is, in my world, the manifestations of the Spirit, the knock of the Spirit, and the descent of the Spirit. Decision of the Spirit is something that hopefully I'll be able to talk to you about sometime in the future when it begins, because it's happening right now. All sorts of things are happening in my life right now. And that's going to be the decision of the Spirit. And I don't know what that's going to be yet. So I'm still in a state of uncertainty and unknowing. And that's okay, because I know where I am. I know what I'm doing. I know how I'm feeling. And everything is all right. Because my assemblage point has moved. My mirror of self-reflection was broken. Mirror of self-reflection, the self-reflection is what holds the assemblage point fixed and makes you unable to change, unable to transform. So while you're a slave to your self-image, without even realizing it, because it's our conditioned response, right? You can never transform yourself. Transformation is a thing that happens in flow state. And once you realize it, once you move your assemblage point, reality becomes immutable, changeable flow. It becomes a river that you're in. You know, the movement is always there. You're still in the midst of all the movement. The river is always going past you, you know. You can't put your foot into the same river twice because it's always in change, it's always in flow. That's what life is, right? And when you're in the flow state with life, then the magic happens, then the mystery happens, then things start happening that are beyond your imagination, your dreams. Or rather, the true dream then begins, because you're outside of your fixations and you're in the hands of the Spirit, which is what we all are all the time. It's just a question of what you're aware of and what are you able to emphasize and how are you able to move in your life. Anyway, this is the thoughts that occur to me after the very unnerving vulnerability of telling you all of the disasters of my journey to encounter spirit and what that's done for me. But there it is. I'll be back and we'll see what I talk about next time. Hope you're all well out there, if anyone indeed ever sees these, and I'll talk to you next time.